Look at the physical architecture of the modern world. The sheer scale of the concrete, steel, and labor required to build a single suspension bridge or highway system costs billions of dollars. Historically, large governments and corporations faced a massive mathematical hurdle. The capital required to build these monumental structures vastly exceeded what any single bank could ever lend out. This massive funding gap applied to every layer of national growth. We see it in the carving out of cross-country interstate highway systems. It even extended right down to local municipalities building out regional brick-and-mortar public schools. So how exactly does a state government or a growing corporation get its hands on $1 billion in cash today when no single vault holds that kind of money? They rely on fractionalized borrowing. Instead of asking one extremely wealthy entity for $1 billion, you ask 1 million everyday people to lend you $1,000 each. This extremely simple mechanism is called a bond. It is the hidden financial engine that successfully crowdfunded the physical world we live in today. Let's pull back from massive infrastructure and look at the mechanics of a single bond. At its core, it is just a loan agreement between an individual and a large organization. Every bond has 4 pillars: issuer, principal, interest rate, and maturity date. Lending $1,000 at 5% for 10 years gives you $50 yearly. At 10 years, the borrower returns your original $1,000 principal. Of course, this timeline reveals the main risk. A legally binding contract is useless if the borrower goes bankrupt before the maturity date and defaults on the loan. This is exactly why U.S. government bonds, known as Treasury securities, are viewed globally as a remarkably safe asset. They are backed by a superpower with the absolute authority to collect taxes and control economic policy. The government breaks these securities down into 3 distinct timeframes: short-term Treasury bills maturing in under a year, medium-term Treasury notes for 2 to 10 years, and long-term Treasury bonds that lock in for up to 30 years. Ultimately, a bond operates like a legally binding financial time machine. You trade your upfront capital today for a highly predictable, steady stream of income arriving in the future. Governments soon realized they could use this fractional lending structure to directly shape the long-term saving habits of their own population. They launched massive public campaigns, mobilizing thousands of citizens to buy microloans to support the state. Looking closely at historical certificates, you can see how the state intentionally designed these to make everyday people feel a direct, personal connection to the national debt. The Series EE bond traces a steady growth path, mathematically guaranteed to double in value in 20 years. The Series I bond introduced a dual rate structure against inflation, a fixed base rate stacked with an inflation adjustment layer, updating semi-annually. Through these specific programs, the abstract concept of national debt became a deeply personal, protective wealth-building tool for the working class. Let's step away from government history for a moment and look at the modern reality of an individual investor trying to safely navigate the broader financial markets. The stock market is an arena of ownership. Buying a stock means you own a piece of a company. It offers theoretically infinite returns, but it subjects your money to violent, chaotic volatility as valuations spike and crash. Bonds contrast this perfectly. Because a bond is a loan, your maximum upside is strictly capped at the agreed interest rate, but in exchange, it acts as a heavy, stabilizing anchor against market panic. However, there is a major hidden caveat that catches many new investors totally off guard, and it is called interest rate risk. This diagram shows exactly how interest rate risk works. If you hold an older bond paying a 2% return, and the issuer suddenly starts selling new bonds at 5%, nobody will want to buy your older, lower-paying contract. As a result, your old bond immediately loses resale value on the open market. But here is the critical detail. That loss in value is only realized if you decide to sell the bond early. If you simply hold the bond until its maturity date, the original contract holds true, and you still get your full principal back. Bonds represent the ultimate financial symbiosis. By purchasing them, everyday people provide the capital needed to finance the physical architecture of society, and in return, those investors secure the rock-solid predictability required to safely anchor their personal wealth.